Mom, listen. Steve is a dirty, dirty boy. That's all I'm going to say. Anyways, Detroit Den 313 back with another one. Inside joke going on, Mom. No spaghetti for Steve. I will tell you that. No spaghetti for Steve. That little idea that you had for Steve, just erase that. This boy, I'll call you after this. But guys, hit that subscribe button if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet. And you are gonna want to think about being a member. I don't know if Steve has it handy, but yeah. So, and we haven't even been talking about this one. I had mentioned this before, but we got this for the members too, right? So, if you become a member, you got an opportunity to win a members only giveaway. That means that it is going to be a small or minute version of people with an opportunity to win some cool stuff. We got an Aiden Hutchinson helmet, we got a Brian Branch jersey, and we will have more things to give away to just our members. You guys give to us, we're going to try to give back to you. But to the meat and potatoes of this thing that we're talking about today, Steve, lay it on the people.
First and foremost, well, I was thinking double spaghetti, and also Father's Day is coming up. So if you'd like to know what type of gifts I'm into right now, like we can just, we'll have a conversation off camera. But we're going to talk about our weekly, almost weekly episode of Hendon Hooker. What the future is holding for Hendon Hooker. This is not a Hendon Hooker channel. Sometimes it kind of feels that way, Will, but you brought up a question, and I think it's worth talking about. So, how are you feeling about Hendon Hooker? What's the question that's on your mind?
Listen, the bottom line for me, we talked about a lot of things leading up into this draft. One key thing was, would Hendon Hooker even be on the roster after the draft? I felt like it was kind of a toss-up whether he would or whether he wouldn't. Here he is, still on our roster. We've brought in quarterbacks to compete for that second quarterback position, and Brad Holmes has even mentioned himself. Hendon Hooker still needs to win the second quarterback competition, the number 2 quarterback competition. Before we're even talking about anything more than that, he needs to win the number 2 quarterback competition. To go along with that, a lot of people have mentioned Teddy Bridgewater, Washington Commanders game. Jared Goff needs to take a few plays off. Who do they call into the game? Not Hendon Hooker. They call in Teddy Bridgewater. A lot of people are reading, to me, a little bit more into that than they should, but I've been wrong before. So starting with that, Steve, where we sit with Hendon Hooker currently, what do you think? How do you feel? Is he our number 2 quarterback? Does he have a shot at ever seeing the field for the Detroit Lions unless something happens to Jared Goff? Or is Hendon Hooker just a guy who basically just drove through Detroit in passing? Where you at with Hendon Hooker?
Opinion hasn't changed. He's the second quarterback. I mean, who's it between him and Kyle Allen? Like, come on, it's Hendon Hooker. But I'm one of those people that's saying, I'm reading between the lines of what happened in that NFC playoff game against Washington. I think it speaks volumes. I mean, if we want to talk about that, I could just say Teddy Bridgewater was not with the Detroit Lions for 20 weeks, 18, 19, whatever it was, 20 weeks. The meeting of the minds, the Detroit Lions brass sat down and had a discussion and said, we want to bring in Teddy Bridgewater as our backup quarterback and not Hendon Hooker, who's been in here every single day for the past 20 weeks of the season. I think that speaks volumes. I don't know if it's a trust thing. I don't know if it's a preparation thing. I don't know if it's an ability thing. I have no idea. I'm not in those meetings. But the actions speak louder than words that Hendon Hooker was the emergency quarterback in that game against Washington for a guy who just came off the couch and was just coaching high school football a couple weeks before. Familiarity, veteran, I don't know. But someone sat down and said, this is a better option than Hendon Hooker. So he's our second string quarterback going into 2025. Do I expect him to get on the field? No, you're not going to bench Jared Goff $40 million. And Jared Goff is what he is. Like we know what Jared Goff is going to be. We know what he's going to do. He's going to be your starting quarterback. So the only way Hendon's getting on the field is if Jared Goff gets hurt or if we're up 52-6, like we were against the Tennessee Titans or something like that. And it's mop up time and we can get Hendon Hooker in there like halfway through the third or the fourth quarter for some garbage time reps. That's the only way he's getting on the field. Will, but his future, I don't know, because this is the final year of his contract, I believe, starting this season. So What are they going to do? I don't know. That'll be a conversation for next offseason. Do we re-sign him? Does he want to come back? Is this where he wants to be? Is he okay with being a career backup? Does he want to go to, I don't know, Pittsburgh or somewhere else where he could possibly win the starting job and, you know, get some more meaningful reps with some number ones? A lot of questions. I don't have many answers right now, Will, but how are you feeling?
I believe we got 4 years of Hendon Hooker, so this is going into year 3. I think we got one more after this. But the problem with it is this, because you're still on the right track though. We got Jared Goff potentially through 2028. Hendon Hooker is long gone before that, and without ever being on the football field. But taking it back to the beginning of the statement, so I just make sure I touch everything. I gotta pump the brakes, Steve. Pump the brakes on Hendon Hooker in this playoff game. I am not in agreement with the situation as far as not believing in Hendon Hooker. I think the situation just boiled down to this. Hendon Hooker was a quarterback who has never started an NFL game ever. All right. Why would you put him into a playoff game in one of the biggest moments in Detroit Lions history when you have a guy who has playoff experience, who has NFL experience on your roster? That's why Teddy Bridgewater went into the game in that moment. I don't think that Coach Campbell or Brad Holmes typically go to that podium and lie. So when asked weeks before about Hendon Hooker, they stated, Hendon Hooker is our number 2 quarterback. If something was to happen to Jared Goff, we would go to Hendon Hooker. Now, would Teddy Bridgewater potentially see some snaps? Probably. He'd probably see some snaps. So I think that pretty much says it all. Hendon Hooker is our backup quarterback. They have enough confidence in Hendon Hooker for him to continue to be our backup quarterback. If they didn't have confidence in Hendon Hooker, they would have either dealt him or signed somebody not named Kyle Allen. They would have signed somebody that they were really invested in. If you look at Kyle Allen's contract, he's getting paid 27 cents more than Marcus Davenport. And we talk about Marcus Davenport's contract being next to nothing all the time. If they really thought that Mr. Allen was going to be the answer, they would have paid him and invested in him a little bit more. I truly believe that we're going to see a lot of Hendon Hooker in this preseason. I think that Brad Holmes has set the table and said that basically Hendon Hooker is a slow learner, right? It takes him a little while to catch on, but when he catches on, he's a problem. Here we are, year 3, where a lot of people make a jump. Hopefully that's what we see out of Hendon Hooker in this preseason. And the players always let you know what it is and what it isn't. If Hendon Hooker is lighting it up in practice, looking like a stud, if he's worked some of those kinks out that we've seen in preseason, because he made a couple of plays in preseason last year. The Hendon Hooker fans went absolutely bananas, went back to the, why isn't Hendon getting more times? Why isn't there a rotation? Why isn't there a package? I wasn't in that boat. I thought he was having problems with some accuracy issues, and I didn't get to see enough of him through preseason to really come up with how I truly felt about him as an NFL quarterback. I know how I feel about him as a Tennessee Vol. Had a cannon, and he could do some things with his feet. Steve, the idea of what we did with our offensive line and potentially having a quarterback who can extend football plays and potentially overthrow J-Mo, it excites me because I don't think we got to worry about Jared Goff overthrowing J-Mo. I think J-Mo could potentially outrun Jared Goff's arm. Hendon Hooker is somebody who I'm still intrigued by. I haven't given up on him, but Jared Goff is the starting quarterback of this Detroit Lions team. I would love, and I keep saying this, and I know I'm probably in the minority, I would love for Jared Goff to get a concussion, a tweaked ankle. Listen though. Just listen. Because I never root for players to get injured. That's something that we stand on here at Detroit Den 313. We're never looking for players to get hurt. But what I mean by that, when I say that, is this. Hey, man, if Jared missed 1 week, 2 weeks, and we got an opportunity to see Hendon Hooker play some meaningful football and see what he is and what he isn't, I'd be intrigued by it. I'd be excited. I'd be on the edge of my seat. Let's finally get to see what this dude is and what he isn't. Now, it could be catastrophic if you're a Detroit Lions fan because, man, if he's an absolute dog, now you got a QB controversy. If he's terrible, now his minimal trade value goes to zero. So I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but I'd be willing to play that game because Steve, in our previous episode, you brought it up, and I talked about it as well. We bolstered this offensive line to protect Jared Goff and his lack of ability to extend football plays and make plays happen with his feet. With bolstering that offensive line, if we had a guy who was mobile on top of that and could do some things, that would interest me, man. It would interest me a lot. So talking about more about how you feel about Hendon Hooker, do you still believe he has the potential to be a good NFL quarterback, or are you just off of the train completely? Like, I don't think this dude has it.
It's not that I don't think he has it, but I'm not willing to see it on a football field at the sacrifice of Jared Goff's brain getting Tua Tagovailoa at midfield to get him into a football game. Like I'm not
that's not what I'm asking.
You literally, your words were, "I hope Jared Goff gets a concussion."
Not I hope he gets a concussion. That's what I would be. Anything that would be like a, if he got a mild grade, it's a violent game. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure he had a concussion and he willed himself back into the game last time because he was jacked up. But anything to have him out for just a week, 2 weeks, so we can just see what this guy is, man. Because I don't feel like you can't grade it off of preseason when defenses are playing vanilla defenses and you're getting the base stuff. Because that's the first thing I'm going to come on here and say. Jared Goff throws for 4 or 5 touchdowns in a preseason game. Okay, he's seen cover 4 the whole game. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna, even if he lights it up in preseason, I'm not gonna get on here and say that he's better than Jared Goff. I need to see him go out in a regular season game against real defenses, against the best players from the opposite team, with the best players on our team out there with him shoulder and shoulder, and then see what he is. So yeah, I would never really, I don't really want Jared Goff to be anything of relevance for him to be banged up, but if he had to miss a week or two so we could see him, I'd be all right with it.
I hope like he would miss a game for like the birth of his child or something like that.
I would be cool with that. That would be way better.
Gee, we're talking like ending a guy's career here.
No,
just Troy Aikman out here taking snaps for the Detroit Lions. I don't know. I'm sorry. Well, I guess I got to be the bearer of bad news because the only time Hendon Hooker's getting into the game is for you to see what you want to see is if Jared gets hurt. I'm with you. Preseason doesn't matter. You're going against number 2 defenses, very vanilla. They're not going to show you any blitzes. It's going to be very bland. Usually the diehard football fans know that preseason is you're watching guys to see how the roster is going to fill out, who's competing for depth positions, not to steal jobs. I guess you are kind of stealing jobs, but when you're the Detroit Lions, you know who your starters are going to be. And when you throw Hendon Hooker out there, yeah, it's going to be fun to watch for preseason, but we know he'd have to literally throw for like 8,000 yards in preseason to even have a chance at dethroning Jared Goff as the starter. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news for you, Will, but you're never going to get the answer to this question without Jared Goff missing some time. It's just the nature of the beast. Like, he's the best Lions quarterback that we have. Like, I'm usually the Jared Goff hater on this channel. So I'm telling you how it is. Like, he's not getting into a game. You're not going to see him airing it out to J-Mo or checking it down to St. Brown or Laporta or handing it off to Gibbs or Montgomery without Jared Goff being on the sideline with a headset on. Like, we're never going to get the answer. So when will we possibly know? When his contract's up, exactly what's going on in practices, what's going on in meetings. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't want to see Jared Goff miss any time because I'm just picturing a world where, all right, let's say he gets a boo-boo and he's got to miss 3 games. And those are, maybe we're playing the Vikings, the Packers, and the Bears in the next 3 weeks. Do you really want to risk it with Hendon Hooker going in there in pivotal time to face some division opponents? And we're trying to, secure the division and get home field advantage. I don't want to see Hendon Hooker play football for the Detroit Lions. Like, I just know that we're stuck with Jared Goff, and I do use the word stuck for a reason because, like I said, you're paying him $40 million. You're not sitting that guy on the sidelines. You're probably not trading him. So he's the quarterback of the Lions. It's just the way it is. Hendon Hooker's future Question mark. That's the only thing I can really say, because I don't want to get the answers, because I want to be playing meaningful football games into the playoffs. To get that, Jared Goff gives you the best chance.
I don't know that that's true. I believe that. I believe it. No, let's not get that twisted, because I know people are already. Well, I'm not saying that it's probable that Hendon Hooker is better than Jared Goff. I'm not saying that it's probable. But what I am saying is, I don't know if the dude is the worst quarterback in the league or if he's got potential. Now, what I do believe is this. This year at practice, we're going to hear some things one way or another. And the reason why I believe that is because, again, year 3 for Hendon Hooker. I know we got a new OC, but we got a new old OC, because he was here when we were creating the offense that we're running. And he said that he would like to do similar things, right? So it's going to be a similar situation to things that we've already been doing. Okay, that checks a box for Hendon Hooker in a good direction. The next one is, again, year 3 for Hendon Hooker. He should be having more of a grasp on game speed, what to expect, checks, all of the things that he needs to do as a quarterback. He should have more of a grasp on them. I get the first year, he spent a lot of it in the tub and not on the field, but he was out there all last season learning, chewing on this offense, chewing on the NFL, figuring things out. Game was a little fast for him. That's fine. Now I want to see what he has. If he is lighting it up in practice, the players will apply the pressure, because it's always all kumbaya when stuff is going good, right? But if Jared Goff has a Washington Commanders situation, a Houston Texans like situation, and Hendon Hooker is a guy who lit it up all preseason, and then he's lighting it up at practice. And as Aleem McNeil said, man, when that ball it comes off Hendon Hooker's hand, it just looks like butter. It just looks like butter. So if he is really locking in and looking polished, because I'll say this isn't a Justin Fields show, but Justin Fields, the way he's looking right now, the way that his throwing motion is, the way that he's looking going through some offseason drills, he looks way different than he's looked over the course of his career. I don't know what that's going to look like in this regular season, but he's made some changes, and it looks different. If Hendon Hooker can make some changes, I think that he throws a lot of balls over people's heads, and he throws a lot of them in the dirt. If he can hone in on his accuracy issues, if he can figure out a way to be able to lead this offense, keep the chains moving, and have that extra element of extending a play, it'd be worth taking a look at for me. Do I think it's probable? I'm not going to say it's probable that he's better than Jared Goff, but I got to see it, because you know what would be devastating? If his contract went through his contract, because we have Jared Goff, he never gets an opportunity, and then you watch him go play for like the freaking Green Bay Packers or something, and they move on for Drew Love. Hendon Hooker takes it over and he lights us up or something crazy. You know what I mean? Like, or just watching him light it up for any other team in the league, when we know that we had him in-house and we had a potential to be able to have a guy like that. They drafted him for a reason. They drafted him to get a look at him. So I hope that somehow, some way, we get that look. Again, never cheering or hoping for Jared Goff to get any type of injury. It's just a tough situation to where how else do you get to see Hendon Hooker? Definitely don't want to see Jared Goff go out for any extended period of time or anything like that. Hey, if Jared Goff wants to pop some more babies and take a day off because of babies being born, that one would work for me too. But anything to see Hendon Hooker start a football game, because it won't even matter to me, because I know somebody's probably going to put this in the comments, Steve. I'd rather blow a team out by 30 and then have Hendon come in and play the fourth quarter. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as
you're just going to be handing the ball off and running out clock.
Yeah, I want to see him name the starter for the week, get the game plan be mapped around him get the reps all week, prepare for the game, prepare to be the starter. The guys around him understand that he's a starter. Coach Campbell has already talked about if this job had to be turned over to Hendon Hooker from Jared Goff, they're going to play offense different than when they play with having Jared Goff as the quarterback. So allow Coach Morton to game plan knowing that Hendon Hooker is the quarterback. And now let's go into a football game and see what we look like and what we do. That's all I'm saying. Not saying that Hendon Hooker is better than Jared Goff. I would say that I'd say that Jared Goff is better than Hendon Hooker. But Hendon Hooker offers something that Jared can't offer. Can he do enough of the other things that Jared Goff does do better than him? He doesn't throw the football more accurately than Jared Goff. He just doesn't. And I don't think that that's something that he's going to learn how to do. Listen, he when Jared Goff gets hot, and I watched Hendon Hooker get hot in college, Jared Goff is better on a hot streak, throwing games without having any incompletions. I can't argue that. But can Hendon Hooker make those 10 plays that we talk about? Hey, Patrick Mahomes is going to make you 10 plays in a football game that were plays that weren't even there, but he turned them into plays. So is Lamar Jackson. So is Josh Allen. You know what I mean? So is Justin Herbert. So is CJ Stroud. Like these guys are going to make some plays when there's no plays to be made. Can Hendon Hooker do enough of that to push the needle with everything around him, with the phenomenal offensive line, with phenomenal running backs, with phenomenal receivers, with, you know, offensive player of the year and TK85. Well, I mean, can he do it with all of these weapons, man? I'm interested.
Will,
talk to me.
I'm just going to burst your bubble. All right. The only time I see Hendon Hooker making any type of impact at Ford Field is when the Michigan Panthers pick him up like 2-3 years from now. Okay. And that is if he can beat out my cousin, Bryce Perkins. All right. That's just if he can do that. And if he can come in and beat Rocky Lombardi, Michigan State legend, for the number 2 job, then maybe he gets named the starter for them and he can go out and light it up. But you're just not going to see him, Will. You're just not going to get an answer without an injury, because even when Jared Goff sucks it up like he did against the Houston Texans, Dan Campbell has enough faith in him to come back and get it together because he's a pro and he's resilient. And I'm speaking very kindly of Jared Goff, and I've been kind of knocking him lately, but I'm telling you, the organization trusts him no matter how bad, how ugly, because he should have been pulled in that playoff game after the, 17th interception. Maybe we should have been starting to look at some teddy time because Hendon still couldn't beat out the old man coming from the coaching, So I'm thinking maybe when the Michigan Panthers season's over and, Hendon's contract's up with the Detroit Lions, they swoop him up. He comes in, competes for the job, and he finally gets a chance to light up Ford Field. Because I'm going to tell you some more facts, Will. If you take out stretching time before the games, Steve Perkins' shoes has seen Ford Field more than Hendon Hooker's. All right. So my trade value is higher than Hendon Hooker's because I've actually been on Ford Field for family photos more than Hendon Hooker has if you don't count stretching before the game. All right. Like it's just, you got a bubble, Will, and I got to just pop it for you because you ain't going to see Hendon Hooker on a Detroit Lions starting job without Jared Goff going down. It doesn't matter how bad he plays. He's going to be the quarterback.
I don't believe you're wrong. So I'm not going to contest that. I'm not even going to contest it, man. I don't believe you're wrong, but I need to I don't know. It's one of those situations where you just want to have it all. You just want to have it all. You want to know that you got a great situation, but you want the sports car and you want the big truck and you want the beautiful house and you want the perfect family. You just want everything. I don't want to just have one facet of it. I want the whole thing. I want this offense to have best running back in the league. I want it to have the best offensive line in the league. And I want it to have a quarterback who can do all of the things. I'm sick of if a team figures out a way to stop a play, right? So if they scheme up something that beats our route combination that we're throwing at them, the play's dead. I mean, like if they stonewall us at the line of scrimmage and one defender comes free, the play's dead. Like the play's over. I just don't like living like that. We're dependent on guys like the Chicago Bears coach scheming up things that were beautiful. we're going into this season, depending on Coach Morton, scheming things up, because if they don't, the play's dead. Sometimes as a football coach, these coaches are just like, you hear them quote it. Man, I called a shit play right there. But Patrick Mahomes was just out there being Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen was just being Josh Allen right there. It wasn't the play call. Actually screwed up the play call. But then they did something special. I'm not going to sit up here and say Jared Goff hasn't made some special throws. He's definitely made some special throws. But sometimes I need you to make special things happen with your feet so you can go ahead and make special throws. Dude Love out there in Green Bay, he can make some things happen with his feet. Old Paint My Nails out there in Chicago, he can make special things happen with his feet. Yeah. Even my boy JJ, right? Michigan man.
Handoff merchant.
Yeah, the handoff merchant. He can extend some plays and make some things happen with his feet. We got the only quarterback, one of the few in the NFL, definitely the only one in the North that is a bit of a statue back there. It worries me because if things are going bad, you're not going to get to the back of my drop, deliver the ball on time every week. It's just not going to happen. I don't believe you're going to do it for a playoff run. Those other teams get paid too. Those other coaches get paid, the players, the scouts, all those guys get paid too. At some point, when you get to those playoffs, those teams know what you do and you know what they do. Now what? Scares me. It scares me.
I think Mikey Sanders still at the other end of some of those Jared Goff special throws. If I'm being honest with you, yeah, like rookie coming in, playing nickel, picking Jared Goff off twice. Like, I don't know, Will. I don't know how much more we can give Jared Goff and expect him to bring us a Super Bowl because, essentially you're just going to, the well's going to turn up dry because there's just really not much else we can do for him. Like he's got all these weapons around him. Is he just the X factor of the offense? He has to be. Like, which Jared Goff am I getting? Am I getting the Jared Goff that can go out and throw for 450 yards and 4 touchdowns? Or am I going to get Washington Commanders / Houston Texans Jared Goff? Like, he's the straw that stirs the drink. Like, what are we going to get? You don't know until game day. I mean, I'll just be honest. I'm starting to question whether or not we win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff because time's ticking. Father time's ticking. Like, we only have so much money to go around. We only have so much time. We only have so many contracts. Are we going to re-sign them in 2-3 years? I don't know. That's kind of the window. Like we've invested a lot for Jared Goff to go out and win. Now it's time to put up and shut up. We made you the highest paid quarterback in Detroit Lions history. I think you were the highest paid quarterback in NFL history other than Dak Prescott for like 6 days. I don't know. You've got the keys to the Ferrari and you took that Ferrari out and you crashed it into a barricade. So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm just being honest.
So let me on that same theme, let me toss a question at you. If going into this season, if our offensive line plays the way that we and I think everybody else in the world expects them to play, which is phenomenal, right? If our running backs continue to be phenomenal, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. If Sam Laporta is Sam Laporta, this receiving core is this receiving core. Amon-Ra stays Amon-Ra. J-Mo takes an even bigger step forward. Isaac Tesla is half of what you think Isaac Tesla is. And we have a situation where our season ends the way that it ended last year with the Washington Commanders. Would Jared Goff be in a hot seat for you?
He's in the seat of the Detroit Lions quarterback because what's your options? Cut him and eat a bunch of dead cap space? Handicap the team with who you can sign. Like there's no good situation. Like you can't trade him. I don't think you can't cut him. He's your quarterback. Like as much as you hate it, as much as you love it, that's the guy. Like until his contract is up, because I don't see any other option you can get. You can really have with Jared Goff.
You answered my next question because my next question was going to be, do you have to ride it out to the end of the contract?
Have to now, unfortunately,
because we can sneak out of it in 2028, but we got to ride this thing through 2027. Right?
Bryce Underwood.
Yeah. Well, I just feel like as much as I would love to have Bryce, it's almost impossible because I think Bryce is probably going to come out and be the number 1 pick in the draft, and I don't see us ever not ever, but I don't see us anytime soon picking number one. And I think the year that he comes out, people aren't going to be trading that number one pick. It's going to be similar to old Paint My Nails when he came out. They're going to be looking at him as a phenomenal, have all the tools kind of quarterback is what I'm expecting. I know he hasn't played for the Michigan Wolverines quite yet, but this is a kid who I've been watching since he was in middle school, and he has every tool that you need to be a great quarterback. This is a dude who had 4.0 GPA. This is a dude who is 6'4". This is a dude that's doing all types of flips and acrobatics. This is a dude who can run. Like, he can throw the ball a mile. He can do everything you need a quarterback to be able to do. So
he's Cam Newton 2.0.
Yeah, better though. I think he throws it better. I think he's a more natural passer of the football than Cam.
Well, I can't say that he's better than an NFL MVP, so I have to give that a little time.
I get it. I just feel like he throws the ball more naturally than Cam. But Cam was a beast. I don't want to take anything away from Cam Newton, but natural passer of the football. I just feel like Bryce can do all those things. But for those reasons, I don't see a path for the Detroit Lions being able to pick one. But if it happened, I would be excited about it. But I'm just looking at Jared Goff, and I'm looking at this season, always cheering for Jared Goff. He's a Detroit Lion. I'm cheering for all these guys who wear Honolulu blue. But I'm with you in a sense of this. He probably has to be our quarterback through the contract. Like, I don't think that we'll cut him before. We might not pick up that extra year, but I don't think we'll cut him before the 2027 cut. So, and take a huge hit and huge cap penalty. So, but could he be a guy who's backing somebody up? Could somebody like a Hendon Hooker or somebody else that we draft come in and maybe push him for that role if he has some trouble this year? Do we look at either getting ready to let Hendon Hooker do this thing next year or what? I'm not going to say that Jared Goff is in a hot seat, like he won't be on the Detroit Lions after this season, but I think if we have another year where maybe we got to look at Jared Goff for the reason why we didn't have success, I think that Brad and Dan got to really take that into account and think about how they're going to navigate that.
I think the worst thing is that Washington game, just speaking for myself, it left a bad taste in my mouth. Like, that's what we have to sit with until next year. Like, Jared Goff's one of his worst games. Like, we could talk about the Houston game, but we ended up winning that one. The Washington was win or die, stay home or stay home and host the Eagles. And you're watching that game either from your couch or you're watching it from the sidelines while your defense is on the field. And we ended up watching that game from home. So Jared Goff's worst game. Now we have to sit with that from January until July 31st when we open up the preseason. It's just a long time to wonder and have these conversations, but I don't know. I just know that Jared Goff's the quarterback. You can't trade him. You can't cut him. And I don't think he's staying in Detroit as a backup. If that's his role, he'd probably just say, well, I'll go be a free agent and I'll do something like Ryan Tannehill did when he left Miami, and I'll go to Tennessee where their quarterback's on a short leash and maybe I can get a starting job again or something like that. But I don't see him staying in Detroit as a backup, in 27, 28. But I don't know. And I'm not trying to sound like a Jared Goff hater because I'm with you. I cheer for the Detroit Lions. He's my quarterback. That's the guy. Like, I can talk shit about him, but I'll be damned if a Green Bay Packers fan comes on here and tries to talk shit about Jared Goff. That's my guy. All right. So let's just clear the air with that. So, I don't know. I just think that Washington game, that's just a tough one that we have to sit on for a while. And it wasn't his greatest performance. Did he have a concussion from that dirty block? I don't know. There's a lot of different questions, but my point is those Super Bowl windows don't stay open forever. All right. We could be the guy that always goes to the dance and we watch the girl leave with someone else. I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to be picking number one for Bryce Underwood. I want to be picking 32 every single year. I want to get to these Super Bowls and win them. I want the parades. I want it all. Can Jared Goff do it? He hasn't yet. And each year that goes by that he doesn't do it, that question gets a little deeper and deeper. Is he going to be the guy that wins the Detroit Lions the Super Bowl and this city absolutely flips upside down with the celebration? I just don't know yet, Will. Time's ticking.
I'll tell you what, Jared, if you happen to catch this episode or the short that Steve is going to cut up when I say this, if Jared Goff was to win a Super Bowl,
34 minutes. All right, go ahead, Will.
I think that if Jared Goff wins a Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions, he is instantly a Detroit legend. It doesn't matter what he does after. It doesn't matter what he's done before. He's instantly. If he brings the first Super Bowl, if he is at the helm when this first Super Bowl is won by the Detroit Lions, everything goes out of the window. Jared Goff is a legend for a lifetime. Put him in the Ring of Honor while you're
16 gets retired.
Yeah, going down the parade on Woodward, just go ahead and put him in the Ring of Honor. It would be a no-brainer. So, Jared, the way that you can shut everybody up, the way that you can prove everybody wrong, the way that you can potentially get that chip off your shoulders, just go ahead and bring that Super Bowl to Detroit. I'll shut my mouth and bow down, and all will be well. I will forget Hendon Hooker exists. Like it'll be a wrap.
Well, you can still catch Hendon Hooker on Saturdays when he's playing in the UFL for the Panthers. Anything else for tonight? Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.